My name is Alana Jack, and I am a cancer survivor, stage 4 cancer to be exact, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I found out last year, October, at my doctor's office. Um, I just went to, I was experiencing some pain in my back and I was vomiting and whatnot. And he advised me to do an ultrasound just for him to determine that it wasn't like a muscle that I tore during my regular exercising routines. So I did that, and I was waiting for the results at the doctor's office, and for some strange reason I found that the doctor was taking really long, and finally when I got it, the doctor told me I needed to go see the doctor who advised me to take the ultrasound. So the doctor was just in another office, and I decided to read what was the prognosis, and I didn't quite understand the medical jargon, but I just got this feeling that something was not right, because I saw specifically this word called metastasis. I didn't know what it meant, but it kept occurring all the time in the sheet that I got. And I saw something with liver, and I also saw something for further testing. So of course that piqued my curiosity. And I don't know, for some uncanny reason I started to cry. I don't know why I started to cry, but I just felt something, I felt something was not right. And when I went to the doctor, he somewhat confirmed all my fears, because his first question was, does anyone in your family have cancer? And I was like, cancer? Of all things, I'm like, no, we have diabetes, we have high blood pressure. There's no one in my family who has cancer. He looked at me, and he had this kind of pensive look. And then he told me that you need to do a CT scan urgently, because we need to find out how far it has reached, because the ultrasound is not able to determine everything. We just know that it has spread as far as your liver, and apparently it's in your lymph nodes. So of course I started crying hysterically there, and he somewhat provided some kind of solace, saying, don't worry, we have, advanced technology with treating cancer, that type of thing here in Trinidad, kind of to allay some of my fears, but it didn't work, because, when you hear the word cancer, for some strange reason, it's synonymous with death. You don't think of all the cancer survivors there are. You don't want to hear these stories of how many people survived it. You just know that you're in it, and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And the way how the doctor communicated the information to me, there was this sense of urgency, like, you need to go get a CT scan done now. So I went to the hospital. The CT scan couldn't have been done at the hospital because the machine was down. So I did it privately, and when I got the results from the CT scan, I felt like my world was over. I carried the results back to the doctor, and when he read it, his countenance changed, and he just said, you know what, I need to refer this case to the oncologist, because this is way out of his league. So he brought in the oncologist, and she read it, and she alerted me to how grave it was, and because of how far it had spread, she said it was already at stage 4, and she was saying that she wanted me to go and do chemotherapy as soon as possible, ASAP. And she started making calls to Mount Hope and whatnot. Of course, I didn't want to go to Mount Hope to do my treatment. So I started to seek a doctor where I can do it privately. I visited a place in St. Augustine, because before any chemotherapy session, it is imperative that they check your heart to ensure, that your heart can take chemotherapy. And I remember the doctor, she was saying, what are you in for? And I told her it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I told her it was all over my liver. She was in disbelief as well because there were no telltale signs. So when we got into the room and she's like, let me see what's happening with your liver. That was the nastiest thing I ever saw in my life, because I saw my liver and it's like my liver wasn't even there. I just saw a lot of cells in the liver. They call it bullet holes, and it pervaded the liver. It was so widespread, it was too numerous to count. I remember, I think it was my second treatment that my brother told me about a healing service at the Apostles' Ministries, and he encouraged me to go. That's when I met Anton, because my brother, he made arrangements for Anton to come pick me up because I had no idea where the church was. On the way, Anton was a real encouragement because he told me that he didn't know me, but he was praying for me, and he, from the get-go, from the beginning, he kept saying, I know you're going to be healed. I know God is going to do something great for you, and I know you're going to be healed. And the service started, and whatnot. I really enjoyed praise and worship. It really put you in the atmosphere, that atmosphere of praise. It was really miraculous. It set the stage for what was going to proceed. Then David Hogan came, and he started talking about himself, how we got into the healing service and the healing ministry, that type of thing. He asked those who needed healing. I went in front. I remember that he started to pray for me, and he prayed, and that was it. And I was like, okay. But then after, he held my hand and he started walking, and I was walking with him and he was holding my hand, and in my mind I'm like, why is he constantly holding my hand and praying? That I didn't know if he was getting a message from God. Before I knew it, I was on the ground. Actually, I didn't even know when I fell down. I felt a certain peace. It was so indescribable. Not just a peace, I was in a really beautiful place. I can't describe the place because I can't remember, I can't recall seeing anything. I kept saying, oh my God, I don't want to leave this place. And then I heard a voice saying, as if the voice was saying, not as yet, Alana, not as yet, because of Jeremiah, my son. And I kept saying no, I wanted to stay. I was like, I want to stay here. And I just kept hearing the voice saying no. And the voice started to fade, and I kept hearing no, not as yet, no, not as yet. And the voice started fading, and my eyes opened. And then I realized I was on the floor. So I was a little mortified. So I got up. I didn't tell Anton about my experience though. So when we were returning, he was really ecstatic, and he was like, Alana, I don't want you to go back and do any chemotherapy because I believe that you were healed, and I saw when you fell down. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God. He's like, I saw when you fell, and I believe that you were touched. And Anton had so much of faith, and I kept saying, I believe that I was healed too, but I didn't even know if I believed it. I just remembered the voice I was hearing, and I remember the voice saying, not as yet, Alana, no, not as yet. And at that moment, I knew that I was not going to die. So I went for the third treatment, and the CT scan results, they were great in comparison to the initial report that I received, because the report stated that the mass that they found, the large mass that they found in my ovaries, the mass had shrunk There was a large node on my neck. The node had shrunk as well, so the results were really great. And the greatest result was that there was no trace of cancer in the liver. It was totally gone. To the doctor, she looked at me and she said, "This is unreal, because usually once you have cancer in the liver, especially the stage my own was in, it doesn't happen that the liver is then suddenly totally clear of cancer." Actually, when I got the CT scan results, I thought the results were probably going to say, okay, the cancer, it has lessened, it has alleviated. So, it was really, really amazing, because I thought it was going to, I thought that's what the result was going to say. But from so many cells the CT scan said, and I'm saying this verbatim, too many cells, too numerous to count. From that to the liver is clear, there's nothing in the liver. And the doctor, she was like, "This does not happen." And I told her, well, I went to a healing service and I believed I was healed. I said it softly, and a nurse next to me, she said, "Don't say it softly. You were healed. You believe it, and you need to shout it, and you need to say it. Say that you were healed." And I said, "I was healed." My name is Alana Jack, and I have been healed from stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.